Hi guys. Okay, sorry, this video is really late in coming, and rather than doing 5 separate video reviews of all the movies that I saw at the After Dark Film Festival, I figure I'll cover them all in this one video. Really for, I think, 2 or 3 of them I don't have that much to say because they were pretty bad, but 2 of them were really good, and I want to mention those. Okay, so the first one that we saw was called We Are What We Are, and I mentioned before that this was an American remake of a Mexican film about a family of cannibals. And I did not like the Mexican version at all. I just could not get into it whatsoever. I just found it really repulsive, and I have a very strong stomach. I have a pretty high tolerance for gross movies, and I can't really remember if it was like visually all that gross, but thematically it was a very gross film. And this one was it was done really well. This was far better. The American version of this was far better than the Mexican one, and it was directed by the guy who did Stake Land. I do not have his name at the moment, but I will put info in the description box below. Anyway, so in this movie they switched around a little bit, turned it into a very ultra-religious, zealot kind of father with these 2 teenage daughters and a young boy. His kids, their mother dies at the very beginning of the movie due to some cannibalism-related disease. And so once a year, they're supposed to kill somebody in order to... It goes back in their family. It's part of their legacy. They have to kill somebody and eat them to kind of pay homage to what they went through in the past, this like weird ritualistic thing they have to do. So anyways, it was just really well done. I found it extremely entertaining, extremely interesting, very well done movie. Oh yeah, and also I want to say the guy who directed this movie, the Stake Land guy, also directed a movie called Mulberry Street, which we saw at one of the first After Darks, and I didn't even realize he was the same guy who did it. And that was also a really good film. It was very edgy, very raw, very low budget, independent kind of movie about these rats in this apartment building that spread disease. Kind of like a, if you've ever seen those Wreck movies about the zombies in an apartment building. Wreck, the original Wreck was a Spanish film. And they made a Wreck 2 as well, I believe, in Spanish, but they've also made American versions. And the American Wreck is actually good. It's they did a decent remake of that. But anyways, I didn't realize it was the same guy, but it was, and he's really good. He's an excellent director. James something, pardon me, I am sorry, I cannot remember at the moment. But like I said, I will have info in the description box below. So I would recommend it. It was really good. It was pretty low-key. There was only one really gross-out scene, and it happens at the end, and it was pretty cool. Very climactic. It was good. It was great. Great way to end the film. Okay, so the second one was called Silent Retreat, and that was a Canadian film, which I thought was really boring and dull. Actually, the first half of that movie started off pretty good. It was about these girls, kind of juvenile delinquents, who get sent to this like camp or like, you know, this retreat in the woods to kind of like, you know, straighten them out or put them on the right path or whatever. And they go to this ultra strict place. This really weird guy runs it with his 2 sons, who are also equally weird, and he insists that nobody talks. You cannot talk at this place. And then there's this weird creature in the woods that's like stalking everybody at night. And so it was like the first half of the movie started, it was kind of interesting, you know, started off okay, these weird sounds going on outside the cabins, and you're wondering what the hell this thing is, and the whole weird silence thing, what's going on with that, and this ultra-controlling guy. But then it just got really stupid. It just got really stupid and just overdone and totally went into the toilet in the second half of the movie. It sucked. Okay, so cannot give that one a thumbs up. Silent Retreat, that one was. Okay, third one was the one I really hated. It was called Odd Thomas, and it was one of these really big budget, no holds barred type of movies. Tons of CGI, tons of like effects. You know, no holds barred, like I said, with the budget and all that stuff. And it was based on a Dean Koontz book, I believe. I've never liked Dean Koontz. I've never been able to read a Dean Koontz book all the way through. He's always been like a second-rate Stephen King to me. Anyway, it's about this guy who has these psychic abilities, and he can tell when disaster is going to come, or he knows who's a murderer, blah, blah, blah. It was just really, really, really totally typical American big budget wow factor kind of movie that just did nothing for me whatsoever. And his girlfriend, he's got this perfect little girlfriend who looks like she just came out of some Abercrombie and Fitch ad, you know? I mean, like this perfect little skinny little girl with, you know, pink panties and, you know, perfect wardrobe, and I just could not get into these two at all. Even though they tried to make them all cutesy and this and that. There were some good effects, yeah, some nifty effects, but I do not go for this big budget stuff. It was, the director of this one was the same guy who did the Mummy movies. So there you go right there. I've never been able to watch those either. Tried to watch the Mummy, that Brendan Fraser one. No, just boring fucking bullshit. Did not like it. It's just too fake. Too fake and too gimmicky for me. I just cannot get into big budget Hollywood so-called, well, this wasn't, I wouldn't even call this a horror movie. It was just more like a in-your-face, wow, like one effect after another kind of movie that just did nothing for me. I did not like it. Hated it, actually. Okay, so the fourth one we saw was called Found, and this was fucking awesome. Director was Scott Schirmer. I remember his name. Scott Schirmer or Steve Schirmer. I believe it's Scott Schirmer. And this was an independent movie. This guy claims, I don't know if this is true or not, he actually says that he made this movie for $8,000. And I find that hard to believe because it was extremely well done. Yeah, I mean, a very simple movie, kind of bare bones kind of movie, but it was awesome. It was about this little, well, not little kid. He was, I guess, maybe 11, 12. And he's got this older brother who is a serial killer. Goes into his closet one day and finds a head in a bowling bag. A bowling ball bag, so, but he doesn't say anything to anybody. And I guess he really kind of idolizes his older brother, who's this really kind of a cool guy, even though he is a serial killer. He just seemed kind of cool to me. Very, very moody, very intense, very, you know, always arguing with his dad, getting in these huge fights. And so he's having problems at school. He doesn't really have many friends, the little kid that is. And he's always getting bullied, and people are picking on him and shit. But he's a horror movie fanatic. And one of his favorite things to do is go to this rental place and rent horror movies on the weekend. And so he ends up renting this movie that is about this serial killer who just is, this guy's a complete sadist and a fucking masochist and a psychopath, and there's this one scene in this movie that was one of the most explicit, grossest things I've ever seen, but it was just so well done. It was like, wow, where this guy, he's got like this really creepy mask on, and he's torturing this girl, and just it's just complete gross out, complete, really, really sick. But it was it was well done, and the whole movie was well done. Excellent, excellent movie. If you guys can find it, if you see it anywhere, watch it, because it is really, really cool. And then the final movie we saw, which surprised me, was called Willow Creek, and it was directed by Bobcat Goldthwait, who I've not been a fan of in the past. Actually, I don't really know that much about him, to be honest. All I remember is he was like some kind of famous for 15 Minutes guy in the 80s, and he turned movie director. And this movie was about Bigfoot, this couple who go on this Bigfoot hunting expedition at Willow Creek, which is apparently where the original footage, what was the name of the footage called? They had a name for it. These two guys who filmed the footage that turned out later to be a hoax, I believe. The Paddington something footage, anyway, of the Bigfoot walking through the forest. And I believe later it turned out to be somebody with a suit on or whatever. But anyway, so they go to this area where all these Bigfoot sightings have taken place, and they go in the woods and they camp there, And so they have these experiences, and it turned out to be really, really good. Wasn't the best movie of the festival. I think Found was the best movie of the festival. But that one was really, really cool, like especially when they go to Willow Creek and the surrounding area, and it's got all these like quirky, like it's all, the whole place is like tourist oriented towards Bigfoot. So you've got Bigfoot restaurants and Bigfoot hotels and just really, really cool, quirky stuff like that. And then when they end up going into the woods to film, because this guy's filming a documentary, the guy who's filming it, his dream was to like encounter a Bigfoot and do a movie about him. So they go into the woods and they camp there, and of course, you know, things happen when they're there. So that one will probably come out, because I think Bobcat Goldthwait's a name, so he'll probably get it released. And he actually did a really good intro. He was there at the screening, and he was pretty funny, and he did a really good intro for it. But yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it. Awesome. There's a very, very long scene of the two of them in this tent that was really, really cool. Very tense and very spooky and scary. So I would recommend Found. I would recommend Willow Creek, and I would recommend We Are What We Are. They were all very good, very watchable movies. The other two, complete total thumbs down, complete garbage, crap. Did not, well, okay. I'll be a little bit more lenient with Silent Retreat, because the first half of that was kind of good. It was okay, but that Odd Thomas was fucking terrible. I hated it. Could not stand it. I don't even know how I made it through that whole movie, because it was just irritating me so much. That, you know what it reminded me of? Like, you know that TV series Supernatural, and even the guy who was doing the intro for it compared it to that, and yeah, totally right on there. It was like TV show caliber movie, basically. Total crap. Total, and really geared towards more teenagers than adults, because, you know, I mean, it was just stupid, you know. But anyway, so that's my quick wrap-up of the After Dark Film Festival, and hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you later. Okay, bye.